All right, what's going on, everybody? Today it is the 19th of March. It is 2023, and it is 10 o'clock at night. I'm going to see about lighting up a cigar right here. I'm adding more maturity to my style. Let's do some grown damn man talk right here, okay? Now, here's something that's been an issue with me for quite a long time. Oh, that's not even lit up. And the issue with me is that I am about to be 30 years old this year, but I feel much more mature than like 99% of all the so-called men around my age. In my opinion, we do not have really any grown real men anymore. What we have are a lot of grown little boys and little girls. Okay? Here's an example. I remember at work at my job that these guys were talking about the subject of like, if you were a Disney princess, what would you be? And they actually asked me that question. I think, Disney princess? What the hell are you talking about? Do I look like a princess to you? I am no princess. I am a future king and conqueror and emperor. I am going to choose to live my life like a Shaka Zulu, Alexander the Great, Hernan Cortez, and Genghis Khan. I am no fucking princess. And they were talking about how, oh, I feel like I'm more so like Mulan, or I feel like I'm the Little Mermaid. I think you guys are fucking 25, 30 years old, and you're talking about cartoons like you're little kids, and you're comparing yourself to a princess like you're a little girl. And then And another issue I come to find out is that a lot of these guys nowadays are very soft and weak, and they don't want to put in the hard work in order to get what they want out of life. There's this young 19-year-old kid that he rides the shuttle, and he drives us to and back and forth from the parking lot of our work and to our job. And one day he asked me, can you give me some money so I can go ahead and buy myself a new sanitizer bucket? And he asked me if if I had a sanitizer spray in my car. I think, why are you asking me that when you can go ahead and easily put away $5 in order to get it? Well, I'm in a lot of debt. I think, bro, here's the thing. This is what my father told me, is that if you really want something, you need to get off your butt, grow a backbone, and go to work. Okay? And I can tell by his demeanor and the way he talks that he did not have a father in his life. That he had his mom that probably coddled and babied his ass to death. Just like the majority of guys nowadays. And I'm going to say it like it is. The reason why there are hardly any real men under the age of 45, 50 years old is because most of these guys were raised by wimpy dads, single moms, video games, TV, and social media. We don't have hardly any real men because we have a lot of wimpy grown little boys who are overly pampered and spoiled. Okay? I got guys that are around my age and they're doing things like taking their girlfriends to Disneyland like they're 8 years old. I'm thinking, what the hell are you doing that for? I don't do things with women like that. I don't take women to Disneyland. You know, if a girl says, I want to go to Disneyland, I think, are you a child? But that's why I realize this generation of young adults are not adults. They are grown children. And what we have now with men are these grown, overly emotional, and immature little boys that are allowing their girlfriends to tell them what to do and when to do it like their girlfriends or the wives are their mothers. Okay? That's why we have no real men anymore. Because most guys are not raised by real men. They are raised by women. And our society has taught women that you don't need man to raise a boy. Bullshit. Let me tell you something. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what mainstream society says. I don't care what they say because it is a bunch of bullshit. Okay? Because I'm going to tell it like it is. Men and women are not the same. Men and women are similar, but we are not the same. A cat and a dog are similar, but they are not the same. You know, men are like dogs, women are like cats. But we have nowadays a bunch of dogs, instead of barking, they're like meow, meow, meow. And we have a bunch of cats, instead of going meow, they're like meow, 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 meow. The tables have turned as far as the dynamics of relationships now. You know, and I do not fit in with what mainstream society does because I was raised different. See, growing up, I was raised more so old school. My father, he owned and operated his own business. He was a BMW mechanic, and he worked to provide for us as a family. He made enough money to put a roof over our head and to have the bills paid and to take us on vacation and go to nice places like Mexico, Honduras, Costa Rica, and such. My parents' relationship wasn't very good. It wasn't the best because there was a lot of drama and fighting going up. But at least, you know, my father was a man who worked hard and provided for us as a family. And my mom, she was raised old school too. She came from the barrio, and her father worked hard to provide for the family, whereas her mom stayed at home and cooked and cleaned, and like an old school Mexican family. And that's how my mom was raised. She was raised that the man takes the lead and you are the supporting role. And that's what I want in a relationship and in life. But that's a problem nowadays in a lot of mainstream society because women have been taught, oh, I don't need a man. I can do everything on my own. And then they take more of the dominating position in a relationship, whereas the man takes a supporting role. And I see a lot of guys in relationships and marriages that are walking around like castrated puppies. They're like castrated puppies on a leash. I'm not that way at all. Okay? I am a young man who knows what he wants and where he's going with his life. Even my mother doesn't tell me what to do anymore. Not just because, you know, for the way she chose to live her life, but she knows that I am a young man who knows what he wants and where he's going, and that she may suggest things to me as far as how to live my life, but she doesn't control me or tell me what to do anymore. She hasn't done that to me ever since I was like 14, 15 years old. And at that time, my dad was the one who took over raising us. And that was the benefit of me being raised by my father. My father wasn't a perfect man, but he taught me and my brother enough values to help me to where I'm at today. And if I didn't have those principles and values of doing good and honest hard work, you test out what everything I say, you don't take it as truth, and you go out there in the world and figure out who you are, where you want to go with your life, and find out what your place is, I would not be where I'm at today. And see, we have a lot of lost, grown, wimpy little boys who don't know themselves or where they are because they have been coddled and babied to death and completely shielded off from the real world. That's why I'm doing videos like this and showing guys about what the real world is and what's going on. And it's not all gumdrops and rainbows and unicorns. It's like this one song called A Boy Named Sue by Johnny Cash, in which a man wasn't present in his son's life, so he named him Sue because he knew that he was going to get beat up and mocked and made fun of, and he had to go ahead and toughen up or he was not going to last in the jungle. And it's sad that the vast majority of men nowadays are complete spineless jellyfish. And I just don't get along with them. People find me intimidating. Guys find me intimidating because of that. And that's why I don't get along with most guys. I honestly get along more so with like older men. Guys who are like 45, 50, 60, or guys who have really gone through some hard stuff in their life. I get along more so with guys who are from the barrio and from the hood, because that was where I was from. In my previous video, I went through one of my old neighborhoods that I used to regularly go to when I was a child, called Coachella. Coachella is a lot like the barrio in like East LA or what you see in Mexico. Not a bad neighborhood, but kind of rough at certain parts. And I was around guys who were real hardcore gangsters before when I was at this homeless shelter 5 years ago. I remember being around guys who were real life Crips and Bloods, and I was friends with them. We played basketball together. We would go ahead and play cards together. We eat together. They show me how to cook a certain dish called a spread, which is cooked ramen noodles with nacho cheese and hot Cheetos. And you wrap it in a trash bag, let it sit for a while, and then you take it out and you dip chips into it. It was actually not that bad, but it was just junk food. But anyways, the whole point is that I have this mentality because I was raised by men. My father was a foundation, but I built myself based on the mentality of other men. I watch guys on YouTube like Richard Cooper, Entrepreneurs in Cars, Aaron Clary. I watch Nino Brown. I watch guys who are old school pimps like Hollywood Shantae or Rosebud Bitterdose or Elliot Hulse. I see mentorship from all different types of guys who are on YouTube and discussing videos. And my main mentor, I would say, was Kevin Samuels. Rest in peace to the man. He was a father figure that I did not have in my life. I remember I saw this one video called Things Your Father Should Have Taught You, Grown Damn Man Training. And I realized that I was carrying myself more so like a child with that video. He talked about how you probably groom yourself as a man, how your room is supposed to look as a man, and what you do in order to really become more of a mature gentleman. And he inspired me to go ahead and get me a watch. Like this one. JBW James Bond Silver Edition. That's a classic, classy watch. And I get a lot of compliments for it. It has a price tag on it, but I got it for a great deal, open box. The whole point is that, ladies, you complain all the time about, where are all the real men gone? Well, the reason why we don't have real men is because you decided to take the fathers out of your son's life. And then you raise your sons to become grown versions of yourself in a man's body. So how we reverse this? Take me, for example. You send your son to live with another man. By the time they turn 11, 12 years old, they should be living with another man. Find yourself someone in your family, whereas an uncle or a grandparent or someone, a family friend, that your son can live with. He can visit him on the weekends, or just he goes there on the week, and then you see her on the weekends. You see your son on the weekends. That's what I used to do for a little bit with my mom and dad, but then my mom went down a very bad direction in her life, and my dad got sole custody. And it was really for the best. But it reminds me of this one movie, the classic hood movie called Boys in the Hood, where Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character, his mom and dad were divorced. But then in the early scene in the movie, what happened was that he was getting in trouble at school and he got into a fight. He got a confrontation with another student. And his mom, who showed him a contract, said, you messed up one more time, you got into a fight in school, so now you're going to have to live with your father. And then his father was living in South Central. And then when they pulled into the driveway, actually on the sidewalk where his father lived, the younger version of himself said, why are you doing this to me, Mom? And his mom told him this. And this is something you ladies have to admit to yourselves with your sons, is that she said, because I can't teach you how to be a man. You know, you ladies complain about this all the time. Where are all the real men? Well, the reason why you don't have real men is because you were taught that you don't need a man. And now look at this. We have women, guys who are acting like women, and they're soft and they're weak and they're not accomplishing hardly anything with themselves. There are guys that are like 35, 40 years old, still living with their moms because they were taught the idea that they don't need a man. But you do. Okay? Iron sharpens iron, and a gem is not polished without friction, nor is a man perfected without trials. And that's what real fathers do. My dad put me through a lot of trials in my life, especially when I worked for him. You know, my dad, when I worked for him at his shop, he was like a drill sergeant from the Vietnam War, like Gunnery Sergeant Hartman from Full Metal Jacket. But the main thing that women are not very good at doing that a father or a man can do to a boy is to give them tough love. Let them know that there's negative consequences to your bad behavior. And I thought about this too. You know, a lot of rappers I listened to, they didn't have their fathers in their life, and they were looking for a father figure, and they saw it within guys who were drug dealers or gangsters or pimps and all those other guys. And I was feeling that way for a bit too. You know, my father, within recent years, he went ahead and ruined his life. I don't want to... And I couldn't look up to him anymore. I had to go and find my mentorship elsewhere, and that's why I kept on looking at guys online. You know, other guys I checked out would be guys like Jordan Peterson, Noam Chomsky, Sanguru, you know, guys who are doing podcasts. But Kevin Samuels, I think, to me, was number one. Of course, he mainly centered on more of a young black male audience, but a lot of things he talked about was something that all men and all people could apply to their lives. So, if we're going to have more real men, we need boys being raised by real men. But that's going to have to involve a lot of changes. Because we have to recognize that men are the ones who are supposed to take the lead in society, and women play the supporting role. I'm not saying that women have to be slaves to men or whatever, but men honestly prefer it when a man takes charge and who takes the lead in leading her to a best life. You know, I want to choose to be the captain of the ship, but you're going to be joining me on this great voyage through life with what I have to offer. You just play your supporting role and help me to become a better man, and that's how it works. But we don't really have that around here. But I think in more so like conservative places like down south in the Midwest, that would be definitely the case. So, but I'm not saying that we should be all conservative or all liberal. Just have a happy medium. Just understand that a man needs to show his son how to be a man. But at the same time, if the father was a prick or whatever and is not in the picture or maybe died, then ladies, you need to go and find another man to teach your son how to be men. I know you're going to be all in your feelings or whatever, but you complain about like in songs like No Scrubs. You know, I don't want no scrub. A scrub is a guy getting no love from me. And they mention if you leave your home with your mama, oh yes, son, I'm talking to you. Checkmate. You complain about these lack of real men, but you raise your sons to be the wimps that you don't want. So if we're going to change that, we need to respect men as playing the leading role in the relationship and society. Because the fact of it is that if we don't have strong men in our society, society will collapse. Because who does all the heavy lifting? Who does all the hard and dangerous work that women don't want to do or they're honestly not capable of doing? We do. And just as I read in this book by Stephen Arniel, is that hard times create strong men, and strong men create good times. But good times create weak men, and weak men produce bad times. Think about that and where our society is at right now. Anyways, this is Dre's Journey signing off. I'm about to enjoy some more of this cigar. And I'm not going to choose to go to bars and clubs anymore. I'm not going to choose to smoke weed or drink. I'm going to hang out, read some good books. Got a little Bible right here. I got a book on teachings of the Buddhism. And invest into myself to becoming the best man that I can be. And the reason why I am the man I am today is because my father laid the foundation, but learning from these other men will help me become the man I am today, destined to become the prize. Just think about that for tonight. Anyways, peace everyone. I'll see you next time. You have a good night.